Officials from both sides met in Turkey today face to face to discuss a possible ceasefire. And we have learned that Russia says it will cut back military operations in Ukraine's capital city of Kyiv. And this comes as negotiators from both sides again met face to face today in Turkey to negotiate that possible ceasefire. We do know this does come after several rounds of failed talks where they did not reach any sort of agreements. But good news again, the deputy defense minister of Russia says that Moscow again has decided to, quote, fundamentally cut back military activity in the direction of Kyiv and Chernihiv, two, of course, major cities in Ukraine. And that is going to increase mutual trust, they say, and create conditions for further negotiations. And we do know Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had said previously, prior to these meetings in Turkey, that his country was prepared to declare its neutrality, as Moscow has demanded, and was open to compromise. So again, that is some breaking news coming into our desk today, where we do know both sides agreed to a potential pause of fighting in Kyiv and in Crimea, again, for the next 15 years, specifically in Crimea. And again, those peace talks have been underway this morning in Turkey, with representatives from both Russia and Ukraine sitting down at that same table and making those agreements. We do want to head out to our Fox News correspondent, Doug Lazader, who has more.
Ukraine appears willing to make some concessions at these talks, but there are real questions this morning about whether Russia is willing to stop the war. They started with applause, but hopes are not high for these peace talks between Ukraine and Russia in Turkey. The security outside suggests just how high the stakes are, but President Vladimir Putin's spokesman didn't sound like Russia is willing to give much.
I have no doubt that all the objectives of our special military operation in Ukraine will be completed. We have no doubt about that.
And yet, on the ground, Ukrainian forces have succeeded in pushing back Russian troops in some areas.
Our defenders are advancing in the Kyiv region, regaining control over Ukrainian territory. Irpin was liberated. Well done.
What's getting walked back?
Back in Washington, President Biden suggested he wasn't aware of efforts by White House staff to correct a number of his statements while speaking overseas, including his off-script remark that Putin cannot remain in power, something Biden himself seemed to disavow before changing course again.
Well, I make no apologies for it.
The shifting U.S. stance could impact these negotiations. Ukraine may be willing to give up aspirations to join NATO, but what about Russia's demands for the Donbas region in eastern Ukraine? After reports emerged that some members of the negotiating teams may have been poisoned, Ukraine's foreign minister called for additional precautions.
I advise anyone going for negotiations with the Russian Federation not to eat or drink anything, and preferably avoid touching any surface.
And at this point, Russia says any direct meeting between Putin and Zelensky would be counterproductive. In Washington, Doug Lazader, Fox News.
Doug, thank you for that report. We, again, do want to let you know, after those peace talks in Turkey, Russia says it will cut back operations in Kyiv to increase trust. So that is the latest development coming into our Live Now desk. But we do want to show you some video also of Ukraine, where we do know Ukrainian forces are making gains in the fight against Russia. Troops were seen yesterday patrolling areas they recaptured from Russian forces, both in the northeast and in Kyiv, as well as some areas of eastern Ukraine. Now, numerous downed Russian tanks and planes were also seen as soldiers captured crates of abandoned ammunition. And this comes as reports from Ukrainian intelligence saying that Russia's forward progress has stalled and will now focus on taking control of the eastern region of Donbas.